Okay, thank you. So let's begin. I'm Brian Sawyer. I'm from Men's Sheds Canada. I live in Edmonton. I'm really glad to be here. And usually this time slot every month is taken up for shedders. We could call it the Cross Canada Check-In. So if you're a shedder, this is where we are this month, and we hope to see you again next month. And anybody who's not a shedder and wants to join us, well, you know how to get a hold of us. So I think we're ready to move forward, Jill, with the next slide. So I'd like to do a land acknowledgement. You can read what's on the slide, and what's really important for me is that acknowledging the homeland and stewardship of the territory and keepers of the lands on which we live. I'm very, very well aware that stewarding the land is an Indigenous principle that's strongly valued, and protecting the land for the next 7 generations. And I think for me, I don't have grandkids, but I wish I did. And I really take that to heart. I do have a son and hoping for grandkids and and grandkids. So I take it to heart that protecting our land is very important to me. And so this has a lot of meaning for me as we do the land acknowledgement. And it highlights that you'll hear lots about our intergenerational work as we proceed in talking about Men's Sheds impacts. So this is very relevant. Next slide, please. So as I've said many times, you will be muted during the presentations, and we invite you to check in on the chat, introduce yourself as much as you like. And if you have questions, please use the Q&A function to post your questions, and we have people monitoring those. Barb and Jill will be monitoring those. The session is being recorded, just in case you wanted to know, and it will be posted on our YouTube channel. So fair warning that if you want your picture up there, that's just great. We'd love to have you. And if you want closed captioning, you click the Show Captions button and select English. That's at the bottom of your Zoom session. Next slide, please. So we're here celebrating, in part, International Men's Day, November the 19th. What's really important to me about this slide is it celebrates the positive value that men bring to the world. And that's certainly true for Men's Sheds and to their families and their communities, which is what today is about. And that there's so many, as I read the news, there's a few news articles about toxic masculinity. Well, I think that we stand out as really positive role models for men, and we want to support boys. And so that's really one of the wonderful things about shedding. So today, the shed effect. What it's about is older men connecting and supporting each other, but also it's about sparking volunteerism and having community impact. A lot of sheds, once they get started, they naturally evolve into doing work in the community and establishing some community partnerships and therefore enriching their community. And that's what we'll be talking about today. Men connecting and communities thriving. So moving towards today's presenters, I'm just going to give you a touch on the highlights. Next slide, please. We're going to start with a keynote speech from Dr. Megan Conway, President and CEO of Volunteer Canada. Next slide, please. We also will have a panel who will have some time to share some of their insights with us. Karen McDonald from Sage Seniors and also from many other organizations, Connie Newman from Manitoba, and Sarah Story and from BC, Fraser Lake. So I'll be doing a more thorough introduction as we introduce the panel. Next slide, please. Also, we have Dr. Raza Mirza, who we've been working with for years in Men's Sheds Canada, and he's going to talk about his national research project. So I'll tell you more about Raza when he comes up. So next, I'd like to introduce Robert Gollop. He is currently the president of Men's Sheds Canada, and I've been happily working with Robert and being inspired by Robert for years. He's been a tireless advocate for the shedding movement from his past leadership, starting with the Squamish Men's Shed, and then moving up to the provincial BC Men's Shed Association. And then also moving up from his current role, he's also contributing to the Pan-Canadian Community-Based Senior Services Interim Community Leader Council. That's a long phrase. There's a number of members of that council here today, but I'd like to hand it over to you now, Robert. Can't hear you, Robert. You're on mute. And thank you for muting, but you'll need to unmute, Robert. Can we unmute Robert?
There we go.
Okay.
Good. Well, thank you, Brian, for that introduction and for certainly acknowledging the land we're gathering on today. A warm welcome to everybody. Greetings. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the Shed Effect, our national celebration of International Men's Day. We're really proud to gather today on this very special occasion to recognize the contributions, the challenges, and well-being of men everywhere. This is a global day that invites us to reflect on what helps men thrive: connection, purpose, and belonging. And that's exactly what the Men's Shed movement is all about. At the heart of the movement are older men coming together to connect, to share skills, and support each other. And in doing so, they support their communities through volunteering, mentoring, and lending a hand to others. Shedders across Canada are quietly helping their neighbors, supporting local projects, and proving that small acts of service can add up to something extraordinary. That spirit of volunteerism and connection is what we're celebrating today. And a little later in this webinar, you'll see it come together in our brand new national video showcasing some of the remarkable ways sheds are making a difference from coast to coast. That's what we call the shed effect, the ripple that occurs when men gather, when they collaborate and give back. It's about friendship, purpose, and belonging. And it's about the very real impact these men have on their communities. Today, we celebrate not only the Men's Shed movement, but also the people who make it possible. To our friends, partners, supporters, and every Shed member, know that your energy, commitment, and creativity fuel the Shed effect, turning small acts of connection and volunteerism into something truly inspirational. And from humble beginnings, the movement has now grown to 170 sheds, all autonomous across Canada. And we're aiming for 1,000 by 2032. Our vision of Canada is where every man feels valued and engaged in their community, experiencing purpose, belonging, and well-being in his aging journey. Together, we're building a future where connection, support, and service can reach every corner of the country. So over the next hour, we'll explore how simple connections can transform lives and what becomes possible when older men have spaces to contribute, to thrive. Today's speakers will share insight, stories, and new ideas that highlight why men's sheds are important, why they matter, and how the ripple effect that we call the shed effect is strengthening communities across Canada. So once again, I want to thank you all for joining us today, and it's my great pleasure to introduce a special video message from the Honorable Stephanie McLean, Secretary of State for Seniors.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a privilege to speak to you today from the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe peoples. They have been the caretakers of this land since time immemorial and continue to care for it today. I am so pleased to join you on International Men's Day, and of course, during Movember, when we focus on men's physical and mental health. It's the perfect time to celebrate the important work that Men's Sheds Canada is doing to build connection and community across the country. Thank you to Robert and the entire Men's Shed Canada team for the invitation and for your leadership in growing this movement. As Secretary of State for Seniors, I have the privilege of meeting older people across Canada who remind me that aging well is not just about living longer, it's about living better together. It's about building relationships and making a difference in the community. And that is exactly what Men's Sheds are all about. Recently, I had the opportunity to visit a Gujarati Men's Shed meeting in Edmonton. It was inspiring. I saw firsthand how this men's shed enriches the lives of its members, giving them friendship, purpose, and belonging. But what struck me the most was the ripple effect, the way their energy and enthusiasm extend beyond the group to the broader community. And on that day, the group was busy, planning an annual event in Edmonton. It was clear to me that this was more than just a meeting. It was a chance to celebrate culture and the bonds that bring us together. And every shed, whether it's repairing bikes for kids or attending a community garden or simply chatting over coffee like I saw in Edmonton, this offers something priceless, a space to connect. It's a place where men can be themselves and have a conversation while building, cooking, or volunteering together. By creating spaces that combine purpose with friendship, sheds are not just improving individual well-being, you are also strengthening the social fabric of our communities. As we all know, far too many seniors face isolation in their retirement years and can experience ageism, poor health, reduced mobility, poverty, and even abuse. That's why it's so important that our government continue to support seniors through initiatives like the New Horizons for Seniors program. This program is about more than funding projects, though. It's about tackling social isolation among seniors by creating opportunities for them to stay connected to where they live. It ensures seniors are not only benefiting from participating in society, but actively shaping it. When seniors thrive, our communities thrive too. Through this program, thousands of community-based projects have been supported that echo the spirit of the Men's Shed movement, initiatives that keep seniors connected and reduce barriers to participation. Since the New Horizons for Seniors program started in 2004, more than 42,000 local projects have been funded with a total investment of just under $800 million. I'm proud to say that this program continues to adapt to the needs of today's seniors, supporting projects that provide volunteerism, raise awareness about elder abuse and fraud, and enhance digital literacy. We share a common vision that communities grow stronger when everyone, including seniors, has the chance to contribute. The growth of the Men's Shed movement from one shed in Winnipeg in 2008 to over 160 across Canada today with a goal to reach 1,000 by 2032 is a testament to the power of that vision. It shows what happens when grassroots leadership is supported by national coordination. It reminds us that significant change often starts with small acts of care and local connection. I look forward to continuing to work with senior serving organizations like Men's Shed Canada as we build a Canada where every senior can thrive through purpose, participation, and community. Again, aging well is about living better together. That's something all Canadians will benefit from. Congratulations on your national gathering, and thank you to everyone, volunteers, organizers, partners, and members, for proving that when people come together, great things happen. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, Robert, for introducing that video. And it's great to get some acknowledgement from the federal government. We need more of that. And I'm particularly struck. She visited the shed, the Gujarati shed here in Edmonton, where I live. And those guys organize huge events, and they invite us all in. So it's a cultural event and something I'm not used to. And my world is expanding because I'm included in them. So by them in their activities. So really wonderful to hear. And her statement that when seniors thrive, so do communities. That really leads us into our next presenter, our keynote speaker. Dr. Megan Conway is President and CEO of Volunteer Canada and a highly regarded social impact leader with 20 years in diverse leadership roles. She earned her PhD in urban planning from the University of Waterloo and serves as a fellow at Carleton University, leading international research on charitable sector capacity building. Thanks so much for taking the time to be with us today, Megan, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Brian. And I am so excited to be here today to celebrate International Men's Day and to bring some high-level information and research around the value of volunteering and what it does for our overall sense of well-being in the world. So I'm going to just ask my colleague Jill, who's going to help advance those slides. So Jill, we can go to the next slide. A little bit about Volunteer Canada for those of you that don't know about us. We are the national organization that advances volunteering, and we've existed since 1977. Our values are listed there, and our mission is about advancing volunteerism to grow connection, community, and belonging. As we get started, I would love to see a few examples in the chat of folks, either individually or collectively, some recent examples of volunteering in your local community, in your neighborhood, or in an organization. So, if folks just want to take a moment, just pop a couple examples in the last 6 to 12 months of things you've done either as an individual or as a shed around volunteering. Would just love to see a few examples.
You might continue, Megan. Well, they type. We're
Sure. So that's great. Thank you, Brian. So folks are going to type a few things in the chat, hopefully about examples of how they're volunteering and contributing. Let's go to the next slide. Thanks, Jill. This is a little bit about who we are. I would love to talk today about the benefits of volunteering. And one of the things I've really been reflecting on, and the beauty of men's sheds, in my opinion, is that it does two things exceptionally well. It provides social connection, so it brings men together in intentional ways in their community, and it provides a sense of purpose around projects and belonging, and which so connection and purpose contributes to belonging. And I think that is something we are all desperately seeking for in today's context. We know that as a society, we are lonelier than ever, and we know that that impacts older adults and young people in profound ways. We also know that volunteering is one of the oldest and most profound ways that can address a whole number of social health and organizational or individual goals. And so I've listed some of the benefits of volunteering on this page, and I can almost guarantee that through the examples that all of you are sharing in the chat, you have all experienced the individual and collective benefits of volunteering. We know that volunteering helps us build social networks, it helps reduce isolation and loneliness, and it creates a strong sense of belonging. On a health level, we know that it definitely contributes to our mental health. It reduces, ironically, mortality. It reduces the risk of mortality when we contribute and participate. And it also increases our sense of self-esteem. It also helps to build skills, whether or not you're a young person or an older adult. Volunteering gives you new skills and the opportunity to test those out in new ways. Next slide, please, Jill. Jill is my magician behind the screen here today. I love all these examples. Thank you so much. And we know that there are so many beyond the individual. There are benefits that volunteering contributes at the societal or the community level. It creates a sense of deeper networks. It introduces us to people who are not like ourselves. So we get to meet people who are unlike us and we get to learn about them, which is tremendous. It creates a deeper sense of social cohesion. And ultimately, volunteering contributes to a stronger and a healthier democracy. At Volunteer Canada, we're often reflecting on the fact that we're in a moment at this time where we're talking about how we can have our elbows up and build a strong Canada. And part of that means how we lean in and contribute and participate as individuals and as groups of individuals to really contributing through our service, through connection, and through building belonging in our own local context. So I'm really excited that Men's Shed is providing a vital example of social infrastructure that's doing that on a regular basis in communities across the country. Next slide, please, Jill. So we've talked about the individual benefit. We've also talked about the collective benefits of volunteering. And one of the things we wanted to talk about also is that at this moment, one of the things we hear about most from people is that people are desperate to find ways to contribute and volunteer, but they've lost the ability or they forgot or they've never learned how to do that. And I think one of the beautiful things that Men's Shed does is it helps teach people how to contribute and serve in small ways and big ways all the time. Next slide, please, Jill. So I'm going to talk just briefly about why we need a national volunteer action strategy. And because we think that there's lots of examples of how we need social infrastructure and that Men's Shed is a perfect example of how a great idea in one context has been scaled to creating huge impact across the country, and how we need lots of examples of new and modern infrastructure that will enable all people of Canada to participate. So the National Volunteer Action Strategy is a way we're reimagining how we might think of building infrastructure at a national scale that will help all people of Canada to contribute and participate. Next slide, please, Jill. I'm going to also just briefly mention what the bigger picture looks like around volunteering right now, just so everyone has some of this context. And I'm going to ask Jill to go to the next slide. I'm going to share a little bit of research and data with all of you. And this may come as a surprise, it may not, But the general state of volunteering right now in the country is not looking super pretty. We've heard anecdotally and through research from Statistics Canada that both formal volunteering, which means the way you might go out and maybe volunteer your time at a food bank or maybe at another organized charity, formal volunteering has been on the significant decline, and unfortunately, informal volunteering is also on the decline. I wanted to pull out an important data point around older adults. We also have statistics that tell us that older adults are reporting greater challenges around social cohesion and belonging, and 61% of older adults recently surveyed identified that they belong to no social groups, which is really shocking to hear that older adults, approximately 61% of older adults, identify not feeling a sense of connection to any social group in particular, which is significantly up, approximately 40% or 37% to be exact, from data that we collected in 2013. So we're seeing a significant erosion in people feeling a sense of connection and belonging to social groups and social networks. We know that many people are informally helping, but that those numbers are also on the decline, and that if we don't have a sense of who our neighbors are, or who are those that are living in our neighborhood or in our community, we're less likely to go out and actually offer our help in times of challenge or distress. Next slide, please, Jill. A few other trends that we've also been tracking the fact that sadly older adult participation, specifically in the demographic between 65 to 75, 4 years old, has gone down from 37% in 2013 to 25% in 2023, which is a significant decline that we've been tracking through Statistics Canada data. Any ideas as to why that might be? Any guesses? Why that age group might have seen a decline in formal volunteering and participation? I'll just give you the spoiler and my insight, but I would love to hear from those of you in this network. One of the insights that I have a hunch around is that this demographic might be doing more grandparenting duties and or more familial duties. So that new retiree might be having to do some family responsibilities. Ironically, we've seen an increase in older adults participating, which we think is a great news story. So those over 75%, so 75 years old, are actually contributing more slightly in all sorts of ways in communities. Next slide, please, Jill. So we also know that the total number of hours that folks are contributing is on the decline. And one of the data points I want to share is that we know that those who have a lower socioeconomic status or who are facing economic challenges also are participating less in our communities, which is not a great data point either. Sadly, older adults are less likely to be asked to participate, and that is a trend we are really actively hoping that you all will address through your work in Sheds, and that we're actively working to address through a network of partners through some specific work we're also doing. But I would love for this group to think about older adults you yourselves know, who you might ask about how they could get involved and participate in some of the shed work that you're leading, because I think it's a great way when you reach out to friends and neighbors. That is a proven strategy. One of the best ways to get people involved is by asking. So if you yourself are involved, if you reach out to your neighbor or a friend or someone in your connection circle, ask them if they are interested in participating. It is the #1 proven way to get more people involved and participating. Next slide, please, Jill. We've talked a little bit about the impact on the community. We know that volunteering boosts community resilience, and I'm so excited to see all the examples of ways that you're contributing to your local communities and to this broad national network. I also just want to highlight the fact that the work that volunteers do in our communities across the country contributes significantly to our economy. And I think we often forget that data point, that volunteers and the work that they're leading has a huge impact on our GDP. And it's not to be forgotten that that is a significant impact in many different ways, whether it's contributing to repairs or community gardens or providing services and supports to newcomers. It is a huge value to our economy, and I think that's something important that we need to tell a story about increasingly in this current context. Next slide, please, Jill. Thank you. I have to give Jill a big round of applause. We've talked about all of the ways that it reduces, and I'd love for you in your own networks to talk about the impacts on brain health, on emotional well-being, and even a sense of how pain at an individual is lessened when they are participating. So there's lots of examples of how when you're having a very challenging day, if you're feeling lonely or isolated, the opportunity to connect will leave you feeling better at the end of the day than when your day started. And I think really having a focus on these effects and these impacts will, I think, help spur and ignite more volunteerism, especially for folks who are looking for purpose post-retirement or as they think about retirement. There are so many examples of organizations, networks, and causes in our local communities that need our time and talent. And there, I think, is a great way to help the individual, but also help our community. Next slide, please, Jill. I briefly wanted to talk about one of the exciting pieces of work that we are doing at Volunteer Canada is a significant intergenerational volunteering project in partnership with a number of community networks and groups across the country. But what I love about Men's Shed is that you are naturally doing this on your own. So intergenerational engagement is where older adults and young people come together through intentional ways to volunteer and engage in their own community contexts. And I think about the fact that I grew up and learned a lot about contribution and participation from my grandparents and felt very privileged about that. And I'm excited about the ways in which older contributors to your sheds are able to reach out to younger people and help them to learn about the value of connection and contribution in your local sheds, and that has a huge impact across the country. Next slide, please, Jill. But this notion of how we help older and younger people come together is really important. This project is one that we're really excited about. We're building out a broad set of training and a community of practice. We're building the field of how we think about intergenerational engagement and intergenerational volunteering. We're also leading pilots, and we're doing a series of research and knowledge sharing to talk about the value of intergenerational research and practice and how we need to build more networks and infrastructure that will enable intergenerational engagement. Both in our local communities, but also at scale. And I think the Med Sheds is a phenomenal example of how that happens naturally and organically, and how it's something that we have to learn from across our communities in this country. Next slide, please, Jill. The last thing I wanted to leave you with, and I'm really hopeful you will take this to heart. Next year, the UN has dedicated the year of 2026 as the International Year of the Volunteer. And we think that is a huge reason to celebrate and to reverse some of those declining trends around why people aren't participating. We think it's an opportunity to lift up, celebrate, and amplify the impact that individual and collective volunteers are having across this country. And we want to ignite volunteerism and are hoping that all of you will help ignite volunteerism as well. If we can go to the next slide, please, Jill. So we know through the power of your actions, of your contributions, of your connections, you all as individuals and groups are igniting volunteerism in your local contexts. And I am just so excited to be able to be here with all of you today, to hear of the great work that you're doing and to celebrate your contributions, both locally but also nationally. I'm really hopeful that you'll all contribute, or continue to contribute as volunteers and as shedders. I'm excited by this organic movement that's sprung up, and I think we need to work collectively to find ways to amplify the good work that you're all doing. I would love for all of you to help us in 2026 to celebrate the International Year of the Volunteer and to help ignite volunteerism. And we're very excited at Volunteer Canada to help tell the stories of the shedders, and all the great work that you're doing. And so thank you so much, Brian. I think there's one more slide at the end here, but thank you so much, Brian. We are so excited to celebrate the great work you're leading and are looking for ways to celebrate and amplify that in the International Year of the Volunteer. I'll just remind everyone that National Volunteer Week is in April. This year it is from April 19th to the 25th, but we are hoping and planning a whole year-long celebration to amplify and lift up the impact of volunteers and to talk also about how we need to advocate for more infrastructure that will let us all organically and in good ways do this kind of work at our community and across the country, because we know that this is what matters in challenging times. It's people who solve problems. So thanks so much, Brian, and to all of you at Men's Sheds for inviting me. I'm going to pass it back to you to continue the conversation.
Well, thank you so much, Megan. Very inspiring. When you talked about volunteering and that it creates a sense of belonging, and we're meeting people that are unlike us, I think that was a really important point. I meet guys who I have nothing in common with, and I get to know them in my shed. That expands my world. And that's one of the great things about shedding. Another thing you mentioned was that 60% of seniors belong to no social group. You said that was surprising. I'm going to guess that more men than women don't belong to, so it could be even higher for men. And so that really speaks to the value of sheds. And you talked about older adults and mentoring or intergenerational work. I think that's something that's really common. You'll see in the chat all the work that's being done. Many of them refer to intergenerational work, working with big boys, big brothers, big sisters, clubs. That's a really important aspect. So we're a little short on time, but I'm wondering, Barb, are there any particular questions that were aimed for Megan that she could answer at this time?
Yeah, there's nothing in the Q&A. People might have a hard time finding it, but if you look at the bottom menu bar, I think it's the bottom for most people, on the right, there's three dots in a circle and it says more. If you click on that, you'll find the Q&A tab and you can post any questions there. I haven't seen any there. And there was just one in the chat box. Great examples, lots of great examples of volunteer activities people have done and what sheds have done. Looking at one where in their town of 3,000 last year, 3,110 community hours of service. So lots of really great examples there. The only question, though, for you, Megan, is whether you have more recent data than that which you cited, or is it coming down the pipe? So you undertaking more research now?
Thank you, Barbara. That's a great question. So we are working in partnership with Statistics Canada, who gathers data every 5 years through the General Social Survey on giving, volunteering, and participating. So the last time that they collected that data was in 2023. So this data is pretty fresh data. I know it feels a little bit outdated, but the 2023 data is still pretty fresh. We are also doing a lot of other forms of research to collect more anecdotal and more evidence around examples of what the trends are around volunteering and best practices and examples or exemplars of ways we can provide stronger infrastructure. So would just flag that survey happens every 5 years, and it does provide a really great benchmark of the data across the country that can be broken out. And I would direct people to the Canadian Knowledge Hub for Giving, Volunteering, and Participating. And I can give that resource to you, Barbara, that we can share after if you want to share it with the participants. So, but I really love the examples of everyone and their impact that they're making in their communities and the contributions they're making.
Great. There are now a few questions in the Q&A. Most of them are for Men's Sheds Canada, but one of them is asking whether that data includes volunteer firefighters.
Yes, I think that data does include the volunteer firefighters contribution, but because it's a general social survey, it may only include that as a sample of that general data set. So I'm not sure the extent to which it would be a deep dive on the contributions of volunteer firefighters, but it is a general survey.
Great. Great. Thanks, Megan. I think that's it for you, and I will answer the other questions. One more just came in. Wondering what you may know about federal initiatives funding programs for seniors coming up that are new.
All I can say is that I think that the New Horizons for Seniors program, which was mentioned by the Secretary of State, who brought greetings on behalf of the Government of Canada, is an example of an initiative that will be continued to be contributed to. Just so everyone's clear, Volunteer Canada is a charity. We partner with government, but we are not part of government. And so we are working actively to continue to lobby and advocate with the federal government for enhanced contributions and programs that will support programs like Men's Sheds. I think they're a really tremendous example. So check out New Horizons for Seniors. I think the call for that proposal usually happens in September each year, but we're working actively with other partners to say we need other kinds of granting vehicles to support initiatives like this one, because I think they do tremendous work and are building important connection and belonging and purpose for individuals across the country.
Great. Thanks so much, Megan. That's it for the questions.
Yep. So
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. You inspired like 25 examples of volunteering in the chat box there. And and given we could use the rest of the hour to discuss those, but we won't. We need to move on. I do want to say that Robert said we're going to have a great hour. We're actually planning for 90 minutes. So we're running a little bit short behind the time, but only about 5 minutes. So I'd like to now move on to the partner panel. And we're really pleased to have three panel members. And the first one I will introduce is Karen McDonald. Karen is Executive Director of Sage Seniors Association here in Edmonton, where I live. She's also chair of the Community Leadership Council with Healthy Aging in Alberta and co-chair of the National Community-Based Senior Services Interim Leadership Council, fostering collaboration to enhance services for older adults and caregivers across Canada. So welcome to the panel, Karen, and thanks for being with us. I'd just like to start with a leading question. Can you speak to the value of strong communities and the health and well-being of older adults and how Men's Sheds contributes to those vibrant communities? Over to you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Brian. Hi, everybody from Edmonton, out in Treaty 6 territory today. Men's Sheds are a topic I'm very, very, very excited to be part of. And I think I'm speaking to the converted today. So it's a friendly audience, which is great. Maybe just before I begin, like Megan, I'll just ask everybody to think a little bit about the men in your life, in your family, your workplace, your neighborhood, your social circles. I want you to think of two men. I want you to think of a man that you know that maybe struggles to make social connections, who's maybe a bit quiet, maybe isolated, perhaps silently facing some challenges around mental health, maybe part of that generation who doesn't talk about those challenges or ask for help. Now maybe think of a man you know who has found purpose, maybe in retirement, through volunteering, as Megan just shared with us, many opportunities through teaching others, or maybe using his skills to help his community. A man sharing his gifts, building friendships, and helping knit together that fabric of his community. So those two men, struggling and thriving, exist in nearly every one of our networks, I would argue. I think we probably know one of each, right? And that's why we're here today. We can't have healthy communities, as Brian's asked that question. We can't have healthy communities, healthy families, or strong societies, I would argue, without healthy men. We cannot leave people behind, especially half of our population. We forget about the health and well-being of men. Yeah, we all know, I think, that men's mental health struggles often go unnoticed or worse, unspoken. And so for me today, it's a deeply personal conversation. I'm a mom to a son. He's an only child. And at the end of October, very sadly, we actually lost my brother to suicide. So it's a very new conversation for our family.
Well, they provide somewhere to go, something to do, and somebody to talk to. It's a community.
There we go. And so while we're speaking about this today, well, it's a new topic for our family. Punch Jackson, I think many of you know Punch, who's been a trailblazer on the topic of men's sheds. We've talked a lot about this topic out in Alberta. There's been a really, really passionate movement, very effective movement towards the development of men's sheds. I believe there's more than 40 sheds now in communities right across our province in Alberta, which just is a light in our province. When we create spaces like men's sheds where men feel seen, valued, and connected, it can change not just the lives of those men, but it can change the well-being of our entire community. So in Canada, I would argue, and I think others have, that we're facing an epidemic of men's mental health challenges. People are more socially isolated than ever, as Megan's stats, I think, have supported. And men, especially in retirement, are at high risk. And we see it in the men we know. They're strongly tied to their identity as their sense of purpose, particularly to their work. So when that ends, it can be a very vulnerable time. And we all know this, that's why we're here today. And while it can feel like a very big, complex challenge, we have one piece of the puzzle, one part of the solution, and that's shed and shedders. Well, that's why I'm so excited to be part of this conversation. Men's sheds give men a place to be purposeful, connected, and seen. And the benefits, as I mentioned, have spread in Alberta, with more than 40 communities seeing the benefits, not just the men, but their entire communities, feeling more connected to one another, having a path forward towards those men, feeling valued for who they are and their skills and their wisdom, not just for their job titles and their former roles. And I see it in my work as Sage's executive director, not just for the men that are coming together and experiencing these benefits at the sheds, but for our entire Sage community benefiting from these men experiencing these positive connections and contributing back in ways that I think are so unique in each shed. Each shed is, of course, its own special thing. So healthy men are healthy communities, and some of those beautiful examples include repairing bikes for low-income youth, building planter boxes for Indigenous organizations that are Indigenous shedders, building winterized dog houses for a local rescue organization, and building little libraries for community members. And I know you all have so many beautiful examples in the chat, which is such a great thing today. We know that healthy men and healthy communities have an economic policy imperative as well. that for a relatively low cost intervention, which is what asset-based community development is, that we see people staying healthier for longer. And when that happens, we have less dependence on higher cost interventions, like home care and acute care and long-term care. As a community-based senior serving organization at SAGE, and as our national initiative and groups like Healthy Age in Alberta support the work of community-based organizations, our role is to support men to lead, to create spaces where connections happen organically. We help to provide the scaffolding, resources, facilitation, and encouragement, but the men themselves build the space, the culture, and the community. So in closing, before Brian cuts me off, I remember those two men you thought of at the beginning, the one struggling and the one thriving through connection and purpose. So today I'm thinking about my brother, and I'm thinking about my dad, who also struggled to make connections before him. And I'm thinking about my son, who I hope will be forging a new path towards mental health. Men sheds are where more men can become that second kind of man that we talked about at the start. They're not just workshops, they're lifelines, they're community builders, they're places of belonging. And when we invest in spaces where men can connect, contribute, and lead, we invest in healthier communities for everyone, including those of us who love the men in our lives. Thanks for having me today, guys.
Thanks so much, Karen.
Yeah, thank you.
It's touching. A couple of things struck me. We can't leave the struggling men behind.
No, we really can't.
So important. And guys like Punch, who are so inspiring. One guy can make a big difference. That means the shed can make a difference. That means shedders can make a difference.
Yeah, so, everybody, people that lead like Punch, but also the guys that just show up every week, maybe are a bit quieter. Everybody's contributing in their way. It's a really powerful movement.
So much appreciate your sharing with us.
Thank you.
Maybe there'll be, if there's questions for Karen, we can entertain those a bit later. I want to move on to our next panel member, Connie Newman. Connie is the Executive Director of the Manitoba Association of Senior Communities, which currently leads Age-Friendly Manitoba and social prescribing initiatives. And we know that lots of sheds get social prescribing, men being sent through social prescribing. MASC is a member association with 868 member groups throughout Manitoba. That's a large number of groups. Connecting 96 municipalities in Manitoba on the age-friendly pathway. Connie also chaired the committee which developed the Manitoba Government Senior Strategy released in February 2023. So Connie, thank you also for sharing your time with us, as I know you're going to reference that the first Canadian men's shed was started in Manitoba back in the early 2000s. I wonder if you could speak to the value that you've seen of having men's sheds in Canada and the value that what value will communities that don't yet have a men's shed, how will they benefit? So over to you, Connie.
Thanks, Brian. Thank you, Karen. A lot of what you're talking about, I'd like to see happen across this country. A little bit of history and background. I was involved with the first men's shed in Manitoba and Canada. And I need to tell you, the conversation started, and we need to listen, sometimes more than we talk, between a daughter, Lisa, and Doug Mackey. Lisa heard about the Australian movement and said to her dad, you need to start this.
Where guys can go and hang out with other guys and do what they like to do.
Okay. I'm not sure why that's happening, but anyway. Doug started the Woodhaven shed in about summer of 2008, and that's when I became involved. The concept coming out of the sheds down south, to me, was awesome. We've heard a lot of those concepts today. That shed started in a local community club and is now meeting in a local church and any other locations as they see fit to meet. Sometimes it's a local restaurant, sometimes it's a coffee shop. I recall with that shed cooking classes for one, because many men have not had to cook their own meals. Now they do. Over the years, this group has grown, and amongst its many projects has created a musical band. I was at a senior center event recently, and there was the Men's Sheds band playing I think there was 5 men, various instruments. That was an opportunity for them. that Woodhaven group is hosting a health expo this month. All their activities have been initiated by the men in the shed. An idea is born and organized by those interested. As we age, and in today's world, many older adults lose connections. I want you to think about that, and to those here today. Children and grandchildren are living in another city, province, and country. Family size is smaller today than it was 20 years ago. We must think about the value of a shed. Men having a place to meet, to talk, to complain, to discuss politics, to share their health concerns, the list goes on. A gathering place for men, the shed provides them with a purpose. It usually could involve a workspace. For those who don't have a shed because they've downsized, they now have one or more places to get together and produce. Sheds, the value of a shed, sheds are productive. Most times it depends on who's watching and who's listening. Back in the day, I walked into a shed, and most of you know I'm a female. You can see that. Dead silence in the shed. I wasn't supposed to be there. They were welcoming and they were good to me. A shed is a place to change the world. Definitely think about political conversations today. A shed is a place to provide a helping hand. To any organizations here today, we need to listen. We need to hear when 2 or 3 men come to you and say, we want to start a shed. Today, there is the Manitoba Med Sheds team. There's the Canada Med Sheds group. There is a place for men to help those men get organized to form a shed. We need to assist in their brainstorming about a location, because once they've got a location, let them go. How can our organizations assist in setting up a shed? Sheds are organized by men, for men. They do it with each other. If they need assistance, they will ask. In Manitoba today, there are 14 sheds, 7 in the city of Winnipeg and 7 in rural towns and villages. That meeting space is important. Sites vary from community centers, churches. We've got one that's attached to a primary health care center, garages, recreation centers. Most places have a room or a building that can be used as a men's meeting space. The value in a shed, and we've heard this earlier today, it gives men a purpose. As we age, we all need a purpose to get up in the morning and get out and get connected.
Connie, 1 minute warning, please.
Nice. Men look forward to talking to each other, to sharing ideas, agreeing and disagreeing. Med sheds are providing support to their greater community. Possible time away from a partner. We need to think about our early years. Partners living together. Most worked at separate sites. Now they're spending 24 hours a day together. Wives want their men to go somewhere. There is a shed in Manitoba over the past year or so that has been building stuff, giving back to the community. Benches along the town's main street. Adirondack deck chairs for kids. Children's storybook stations. Vegetable gardens. Christmas Santa mailbox. Christmas ornaments. Sheds are providing support to other men. Share a skill, learn a skill, educational sessions, especially around men's health. A story. Brian, give me a minute. Think about a gentleman with dementia. Wife needs a break. That gentleman is involved in a men's shed. A gentleman with no vision, he comes to a shed and assists in sanding a project for another one, which he can do with his no vision or being blind. He now has purpose, an outing to look forward to each week. The value in a shed is organized by men, for men. There's no one right model. And I was told costs are minimal just for supplies. When I asked a Manitoba leader, he told me it was cheap to be involved, to be connected. Thank you.
Great, Connie. You're such an advocate for men's sheds. I really love it. So thanks for remembering, like your testimonial is really important. You were there in the beginning, you witnessed the beginning. And what you also mentioned was the Manitoba Association, the team. The team is out there to support the guys. So when a community wants support in starting, oops, I just got an emergency thing here. When sheds anywhere, you can reach out to your provincial association for support. So thanks for reminding us about that, Connie.
Both Karen and I do that support at the local level.
Thank you so much. So moving on with the panel, and we're going to have questions afterwards. Time for questions. Sarah Story has been mayor of the village of Fraser Lake since 2018 and is second vice president of the Union of BC Municipalities, where she chairs the Health and Social Development Committee. She also works for United Way BC, specializing in overseeing the healthy aging programs in Northern BC, which support seniors aging in place through initiatives like Better at Home. So welcome, Sarah. And my leading question for you is, what impact have you seen of having a men's shed right in your community and other communities around you in BC? Over to you.
Thanks for the introduction and the question, Brian. I appreciate being here today on International Men's Day to support the men in our regions, in our communities, and in our world. I think it's such a great thing that is being done here. So I'm here as an advocate and a cheerleader in the corner, and I have been doing this work for quite a long time now. So I would like to rewind back to 2016 for a moment. The day I met a man named John Allen who worked for Northern Health. He came up to me and said, we need to build a men's shed here. And that's when we really started looking into the men's shed movement. I was running a nonprofit at the time that helps older adults age in place, including a Better at Home pilot project for rural and remote communities. John and I met at a mental health roundtable I was hosting, and we were trying to solve all the world's problems, and this really fit with what was needed. So the vision was created. A group of men armed with tools and a vision helped create a safe space to connect, create, develop skills, and give back with volunteerism. And in the midst of all of that, it supported their mental and physical health and well-being. So I also know, and I'm going to be cheeky here, that there was a few of the wives that were praying that their husbands, when they were in retirement, had somewhere to go and get out of the house. I was told this. I won't mention who the wives' names were, but that did happen. And I was happy to help along the way. I was asked to build a Facebook page in 2017, and the men's shed in Fraser Lake was official. While Rome wasn't built in a day, they have accomplished much in the over 8 years that they have been doing what they've been doing, which is a lot. This place isn't just a place to hang out. It's grown into a vital and essential nonprofit hub that's transforming lives and our community. And there has been a huge ripple effect, and many other communities are now doing the same. We have quite a few sheds in the region now, and a few being worked on, including Burns Lake and Fort St. James, with members working hard to find the right space. I've also had the privilege over the years to watch the Vanderhoof men's shed grow along the way. It was the second shed in Canada and the first in BC in 2014. Vanderhoof is about 45 minutes away from Fraser Lake. We're right in about the middle of British Columbia. They call it Northern BC, but it's not really the north. It's technically Central BC, but that's where we are. And it's really amazing to see the collaboration that the men's sheds are doing in British Columbia right now and farther along. So I was fortunate enough to meet some of the Fort St. James men's shed members yesterday. They were in Fraser Lake and toured the shed and saw the possibilities of what they could do. And I felt their excitement when they walked into the room. The men's shed in Fraser Lake has provided the community and area with much needed services that were missing before its inception. The members have built a positive place for all men and people. Being active, having a purpose, and being socially connected prolong health and wellness, as you guys have heard. In many of the men, I've seen their confidence grow. I can see their pride in the work that they do and the work that they're doing right now in their facility with their huge renovation project. Upon completion of that renovation, they will be able to offer more programs and opportunities for themselves in the community. They will also have one of the nicest buildings along the highway, I'm sure, as they continue to grow. You can see in some of these pictures on the slides that they're doing an amazing job, and lots is being done and continues to be done. So a large number of the members are retired. And as we know, older adults possess a wealth of knowledge and experience built up over a lifetime of work, making them incredibly valuable to society. Men's sheds can also encourage positive growth and development in a community on different levels. So for my community, it's a struggling community with lots of industry loss at this moment. The shed is actually a beacon of sustainability, taking in used items, reselling them, and using that revenue to support their expenses, their growth, and other local charities, including the one that I founded that works on food security. They even have a bursary for students. So as you can see, they're not just recycling, they're revitalizing our community and encouraging growth, which again, said today by Megan, does support and boost the economy. Whether they're building ramps for seniors, fixing chairs, or even constructing a carport for someone in need, which was done through the Better at Home program in conjunction with the Men's Shed in Fraser Lake, these gentlemen are making a significant impact. And while they're at it, they're also giving their mental health and physical health a boost, which supports long-term health. They even help me greatly by picking up all my used items right from my house, which supports my mental health by reducing clutter. Collaboration is the key to nonprofit survival, and they are doing that well. That's what we want to see in particular. Healthy nonprofits functioning well, lifting up and supporting each other and working with other nonprofits for the betterment of all is greatly important. We also want to see a welcoming environment that is inclusive to all, because as we all know, walking into a space that you have not been part of is probably the hardest part. Introverts are going to have a harder time walking in. It takes special people to bring others into the fold and make them feel safe and comfortable. One connection, as you probably all have figured out by now, makes all the difference. If you believe in the power of kindness, which is what I teach daily, you can take your men's sheds to higher levels. In my role with United Way, overseeing all the healthy aging programs in the North, I was actually really fortunate to see the positive outcomes from approving micro grants to start a new shed and capacity building grants, which now the Men's Shed Association of BC manages. This is important work, so I'm grateful for all of you for doing what you're doing provincially and nationally. It's been a full circle for me at this point to see the inception of one shed to the next with over 65 sheds in British Columbia. And I'm extremely impressed with the work that has been done. Some of the men have said to me that the shed has given them much in return and is the reason they keep going. And we actually know it has saved lives here in this community and beyond. To wrap this up, I look forward to seeing what they will do next and how far the Men's Shed movement will go, whether it's through woodworking events, helping with community gatherings, collaboration, intergenerational work, or simply being there for one another. Sheds are building connections, purpose, and a brighter future for all. Thank you.
Oh, thanks so much, Sarah. You know, I remember you speaking at the Fraser Lake Shed and the Vanderhoof Shed. And what I'm hearing is that they've provided services that weren't previously available in those towns, and they act as community hubs. And I've seen that in person. So thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yep. And I just want to say thanks to the whole panel for showing up. We'll have questions perhaps later. But I have noticed one comment or a number of repeated comments in the chat. Why are the panel all females? Well, I want to say that Men's Sheds Canada, we're a charity, and all of our activities are sort of in the sector or a number of sectors that involve health and well-being, mental health, community services, seniors, and volunteers. And guess what the primary gender is in those sectors? It's women, 75% to be exact, or they're all around 75% women. So quite naturally, 75% of the leaders are women. And so it just happens today that we've had these three wonderful women join us, but they are the leaders. They're the leaders in our sector. And so that's maybe that speaks to the fact that us guys need to step up a little bit more in this sector. But I really want to say how much I appreciate you all showing up for us. And we always say, women are our best allies in men's sheds. They send their men. So I'd like to move on to discuss the video that we put together called the Shed Effect video. And we invited sheds from across the country to help us celebrate by recording some video answers to questions that we pose on the topic. like, what does your shed mean to you? What does your shed or your project mean to your community? And we also asked provincial association leaders who we work with all the time, and there's such great allies, and we collaborate on everything, to say something about the community of sheds in their provinces. And of course, we shedders are naturally a modest bunch. We don't like making videos of ourselves, so it took some tooth pulling to get some of these videos. And Jill did a wonderful job. She's our communications lead. And it took some sustained encouragement from Jill to get these submissions. We're happy to present this following video. It's a compilation. We took excerpts from the various submissions, and I want to thank all the guys who actually did participate. We also asked sheds to let us know what's happening today. Like, this is International Men's Day. We have Movember month. We're celebrating the shed effect. Okay, Jill, I'm going to go through this list, and then we'll come back and try for the video. But there's a number of sheds, and this is just a cross section of a few things that are happening around the day across the country. Starting in British Columbia, let's go west to east. Smithers, British Columbia. There's a watch party today, right now, for today's event. So you're here, welcome. Glad you're here. And there's a community open house and presentation tomorrow to raise awareness. In Langley, they're holding a shed effect showcase with Langley Seniors Resource Center later this month, with displays and activities, and the mayor and councilors are going to attend, and there'll be local media. So a whole big awareness piece. In Port Moody and Coquitlam sheds, they're holding a Big Brothers volunteer info session at the Legion Hall this weekend. And many sheds work with Legions. It's wonderful. To create awareness and explore opportunities for mentorship of the older guys and the younger guys is so prevalent among sheds. The Squamish shed is holding an open house this weekend to celebrate volunteerism and community communication, community connection, with a shed tour and displays and intergenerational exhibits, and a guest speaker who is a member of Parliament, Patrick Weller. Vernon Shed is holding an open house every Friday this month, November month, to welcome community members, showcase their facility and all the projects they've been building, provide guided tours and introduce their programs. And they got the most terrific poster on effective giving that has ripples in the water. Men's shed in the middle, ripples in the water. Very inspiring. Prince George New Beginnings Men's Shed will be holding open houses today, both at lunchtime, hope you're not missing your lunch or missing this, and dinner times to commemorate this event. In Alberta, the Morinville Shed held 2 community events this week, an open house celebrating their grand opening in a brand new building that was almost kind of built around them. Congratulations, Morinville. It's wonderful. And an International Men's Day dinner. They showcased their projects and their partnership plans with the local Rotary Club and the Sturgeon Agriplex Society. In Calgary, the Greater Forest Lawn Bike Shed held a repair cafe this week for community members to bring in not only bikes, which they specialize at and do it regularly, but also small appliances, ripped clothing to be sewn, or even zippers, stuck zippers. That is community service. That's full service, full suite of services. The Ritchie Shed in the Southeast Shed, where I come from, in Ritchie, and the Southeast Yegg Shed in Edmonton, we both put on community barbecues as a thank you, a give back to the community. And I just love the response. Like, everybody will come for free food, of course, but they were so surprised that, we do stuff in the community and we're thanking them. We just value that connection so much. In Manitoba, Woodhaven Shed held their senior men's health fair yesterday to raise awareness about men's health and to promote community collaboration. They had booths by local health providers, entertainment, speakers, roundtable discussions on men's health, attendance by Member of Parliament Doug Aolfson, and promotion by local media and the Cancer Care Manitoba newsletter. So more people will hear about it. The Park City Shed will be hosting a community open house next Monday to highlight their collaboration with other local seniors groups, including the Chalmers Neighborhood Renewal Corporation and Elmwood East Kildonan Active Living Center. They'll be celebrating active living and telling the community what men's sheds are all about. A few more. Ontario. Dundas County Hospice Shed held a community barbecue this weekend and invited the Kempville Shed over to join them, one of those regional events. A local reporter took pictures and will publish an article. They had a great time, and their Facebook posting about the event got 11,000 views and many positive comments. So the value of social media. Getting together is important. Social media is too. They're creating community awareness. Burlington Shed are holding an open house event today. It's called Crafting Friendships and Building Bonds at the City of Burlington Bistro to celebrate the International Men's Day today and launch their second Burlington Shed. Congratulations. They've invited local officials and are planning awareness discussions and celebrating volunteerism and using this event as maybe an outreach to spawn another shed in Oakville. Good luck with guys. Pusseland Shed will be hosting a Let's Get Saucy barbecue this weekend to commemorate November month and our celebration today and attract more community members to their beautiful location on Cedar Lane's Farmhead. Lastly, Nova Scotia, Berwick Shed will be meeting next week with a whole bunch of, and I don't have the names of the organizations, but to discuss how they can particularly support men in rural areas. And so I know that there's a lot more going on across the country and with the sheds interacting with the communities, but that was just a sampling. And so thank you all for submitting your stories, and thank you all to continue to do community work. So it looks like, Jill, we might be ready for the Shed Effect video. Are we ready?
This International Men's Day, Men's Sheds Canada set out to capture something powerful. We call it the Shed Effect. It's the difference a shed makes, not just for the men who gather inside, but for the communities they strengthen across the country.
Good morning from the Alouette Men's Shed in Maple Ridge, BC. I'll take you on a walk through here.
Men's sheds are community-based spaces where men come together to work on projects, share skills, and connect. They're built on friendship, purpose, and belonging, open to all men regardless of background or experience. There are more than 170 sheds across Canada, each unique, but all with a shared goal: helping older men stay connected, valued, and engaged.
So our community project, we want to leave a legacy for our men's shed and give a gift to the community. We've put about 1,000 hours into this project and had a whale of a time in doing that.
Across the country, sheds are powered by volunteers. Every hour given, every project completed is a contribution to something greater, helping others while finding connection and meaning through shared purpose. This is the Shed Effect in action, men supporting their communities while strengthening their own well-being.
The Men's Shed is doing scoreboards for the Special Olympics just like this.
The Men's Shed has got a very actively involved in this here, so very interesting intergenerational project.
Built some birdhouses. For me, it was about bringing dads and their kids together, actually doing something physical instead of being online.
One shed helped a member who was going blind to finish a cedar strip canoe.
Repairing and restoration of an ag museum, a green elevator here, and we made bat houses for insect control to the tune of about 3,000 volunteer hours.
From coast to coast, the Shed Effect can be seen and felt in every community touched by a shed. The benches, planters, ramps, neighborhood cleanups, and repairs each tell a story of generosity and pride.
We believe we've contributed significantly to our community by providing a place where senior men can stay connected and stay healthy.
I see every day how the Spirit brings purpose, friendship, and community to life.
Men's Shed to me is an opportunity to spend time with other men, socializing, drinking coffee.
The joking, the comradeship, the noise level. This is music to my ears. I take a deep breath and take in the atmosphere. That's what it's all about.
The Men's Shed Effect gives men purpose. It gives the family a healthier man in their lives, and it gives the community an engaged and productive member.
It's an important part of life. It's a place to go. You know, that's what it started out to be. But now it's more than that because the guys are more friends.
And that's the wonderful thing about men's sheds. We're not virtual, we're real.
What the shed means to me in one word is purpose.
Caring, camaraderie,
fellowship, community, connection, involvement.
Enjoy it. On International Men's Day, we honor Shed members who give their time, their hearts, and their hands to build stronger communities. And we celebrate every shed across Canada as a place where friendship, purpose, and the spirit of volunteering come together to save lives, to change lives. Men helping men, always.
At the Shed, members experience comfort, a sense of inclusion, and the opportunity to form meaningful friendships. These benefits are not confined to the Shed. They extend outward to positively affect members' families and the larger community.
Thank you so much, Bruce Men's Shed.
Thank you so much, and I look forward to a longer relationship with Men's Shed. We'll try to move this a little bit so you can really admire that shed.
It got done, and it got done even better than any of us expected.
And they helped us out big time at the corn roast, cooking our hot dogs for us.
And we're really glad to have them here.
One of the projects that has given us a great deal of enjoyment is working with children. I have this testimonial. Truly appreciate the time, effort, and heart your team put into it, and wanted to make sure it didn't go unnoticed. Warmly, Alice Duncan. Makes you kind of blush.
From here, I'm hoping you guys can send us your men. We're trying to bring as many people in as we can.
Its time has come. There's a real need for this kind of a movement.
This International Men's Day, we celebrate the Shed Effect and thank every Shed member across Canada for giving their time, skills, and energy to build stronger communities. With sincere thanks to our provincial Shed associations for their ongoing partnership and support.
Yes, thanks, Jill. It was
This
such a great-
International Men's
And I'm glad you all got to see it. And in answer to all the questions, yes, we will be making it available, I believe, on our YouTube channel and on our website. So yeah, you'll have access to that. So well done, Jill, for organizing that and dragging the guys in. You all did a wonderful job. It's a terrific video. And we're running short on time. So I would like to move forward. Next item on the agenda is our Men's Shed Social Value Research presentation. So Dr. Raza Mirza is Chief Operations Officer. I'm introducing you now, Raza.
Thank you.
Chief Operations Officer of HelpAge Canada and Assistant Professor, University of Toronto Institute for Life Course and Changing. Raza is an award-winning gerontologist and systems thinker with a background in policy, program evaluation, and intergenerational engagement. Raza is a member of our Men's Sheds Canada Research Committee and has undertaken a national research project, which he's going to talk about, studying the impact of men's sheds on their members and their communities. And I just want to add, in countries like Australia, Scotland, and Ireland, the governments have realized long ago that there's a need for policies on men's health, and they've financially supported men's sheds for decades. If we're going to convince policymakers here in Canada that men's health is a priority and the men's sheds are an effective community-based solution to isolation, it's going to take evidence-based Canadian research like Raza's project to make the case. So over to you, Raza.
Well, thank you so much, Brian, and to the Men's Sheds team, Barb, Jill, and everyone else, Robert, for this invitation and the opportunity to actually engage with the Men's Sheds group and really to learn a little bit more. So I'll really try to put things together in terms of some of the things that we've already heard. We heard Robert and the minister really talk about this word thrive. And if I think about what it means to thrive, we're talking about the opportunity for growth. If I think about what Karen and Connie have said, they've said things that really resonate with me. People want to be seen, they want to feel valued and connected, and people are really looking for a sense of purpose. And this ties in really nicely into the work that we do at HelpAge Canada. Our goal really is, if you think about just even our name, to help the aged. That's how this organization started around 50 years ago. We're always greatly, privileged to collaborate with the Men's Sheds group. So I'm here representing HelpAge Canada. The research projects that I'll speak about are overseen by HelpAge Canada. And if you haven't heard of HelpAge Canada, I encourage you to visit our website and to engage with us and to keep in touch and to learn a little bit more about the type of work that we do and our organization does. Next slide, please. I'll just say that, there are four sort of big areas of research that we covered, and there were four phases of it. And what we wanted to really do is really try to understand what is the shed effect, because we keep hearing anecdotal stories about what the great impact is. We hear about the fact that sheds are constantly powered by volunteers and the contributions that are being made by shed members. And we really wanted to think about what this actually looks like. And so in phase one of our research project, what we really aimed for is to get a real understanding of the Canadian landscape and what is the impact of men's sheds on men themselves and on our communities specifically. And there were four themes that I think are really important for us to think about when we think about this very broadly. Older men who participated in men's sheds programming felt quality of life improvement. And what that translated to sometimes meant things like reduced alcohol consumption. When we heard about things like support during life transitions. So if you were at the Canadian Association on Gerontology conference, you heard the panelists speak about the fact that during difficult life transitions, times of retirement, bereavement, unemployment, etc., that the men's sheds forum and platform really allowed people to have a new role, to have greater social support. And I think these are some really important insights that we got. One of the other themes was this idea around the gendered space. And what we learned from this study is this idea that there is a sort of male way of communicating. And we hear this idea around shoulder to shoulder conversations. And I'll share some more data with you shortly. The men's sheds also is a place where we can promote health literacy and also a comfortable setting where you can have difficult conversations. Next slide, please. The other part that I'll just say is that I'll highlight to you in some of the next slides here, but we heard earlier from the keynote speaker, Dr. Megan Conway, that social connections are eroding, and I'm giving you a sneak preview that in the context of men's sheds, it's actually not. They are thriving, they're flourishing, they're growing, and actually older men are making better connections. And this concept also of intergenerational mentorship and volunteer work, in many instances, we have to put generations and age groups together in what I would say in a very synthetic way. And in the men's sheds context, it happens in a very natural and organic way. And this is something really that's important, again, when we're thinking about what is the shed effect. It's bringing generations together, addressing ageism and isolation. Next slide, please. So in our review of over 1,000 studies and 37 articles that we included as part of this first phase of the work that I'm talking about, we had these four themes sort of outlined. In our next step, what we did is we looked at over 100 surveys so far, and we're aiming to get about 300 surveys done from sheds across this country. And here are some of the findings. And again, the objective is to understand how the participation in men's sheds impacts the individual shed member. And so I'll go to the next slide and I'll start to share some of the insights here. And this is the most exciting stuff for me here. One of the things that I will tell you is that the shed group is primarily between 77% and 80% between the ages of 60 and 80. And I think that this is an important point to think about. And in a future presentation, I also hope to be able to really segment this group here and to tell you how older members of sheds 85 plus are performing and to give you a little bit more of a detail. But here's a quick profile of what the shed group looks like. Next slide, please. The other parts here are that I'll just tell you, like what, we heard earlier about the social connections are eroding, and what does that actually look like? And when social connections are eroding, that means that people are at risk for isolation. They may not have someone to talk to under a situation of crisis, etc. But in this context, again, the men's sheds is allowing folks to have difficult conversations about physical and mental health. They learn about things that are happening in the community, opportunities to give back. And really, a majority of shedders are quite or somewhat comfortable discussing the difficulties that they are experiencing. Oftentimes, things that they do not speak to formal healthcare providers or clinicians, but are comfortable to talk to one another about. And again, this is a great opportunity for having these discussions and maybe even to think about what this looks like in a formal setting. Next slide, please. So this is the one that I get the most excited about. And, I feel like I've rushed through my slides to get to this one because I put a star right next to the stuff that's really, really shining a light on the impact of men's sheds. And, we have Sarah here, who is a policymaker and is from the government. And the question that has come up in this 1.5 hours that we've been together is, how do we get the government to pay attention? Well, I think one of the ways forward is to use some of this data and some of the insights that we're getting from this national study to say, look at what the impact actually looks like. While in many contexts, the older adult population is at risk for isolation, loneliness, losing your social support and your natural supports, almost half of the men participating in the study have reported that they have made 10 or more connections since joining their shed. And this is a great impact that we're seeing. Less than 10% are feeling as though they lack companionship, are left out, or isolated from others. And so these insights and these details really are important, especially thinking about what the key things are that the government and others are focusing on. Next slide, please. The other part that I had mentioned is earlier, seeing the changes in lifestyle behaviors here. 72%, if I look at this middle statistic here, actually, I'll start with the first one. Majority of shedders participate in moderate or vigorous physical activity, and oftentimes with one another. So I think this is another part here about being able to provide mutual aid and support to each other. 28% report being bothered by the amount of time they are spent worrying about. And if I look at the flip of that, that means that almost 3/4 are not worrying too much about different things, but actually, if they are, they have the opportunity to speak to someone at the shed about some of the things that they're facing. Next slide, please. Now, the next part that we did, and I'll go through the next few slides fairly quickly, is we also conducted in-depth interviews to get some more detail and context about what these statistics and things actually mean. So we looked at things like, your experience about being in a men's shed, what motivated you to join, and what has the participation had in terms of the impact on your overall well-being. So the next few slides will be about that. And I'll just share a couple of these ones here. And maybe the one that I'll talk about is, older men frame their experiences not just about older men sitting around shooting the breeze. Guys are not going to sit around and talk about anything. If you're working on a project together, that's when guys open up and they'll talk about stuff. And again, going back to some of the points that Karen had made earlier about this male vulnerability that sometimes really needs a space to be expressed and addressed, this is one of those places where it's possible. Next slide, please. And here's this other point about belonging. We heard of this concept of belonging from previous speakers as well. And what does belonging actually mean? Well, belonging means it's not that you're at the table that you feel included, but you actually feel safety and security. And in the context of the shed, men feel very safe and secure, not only to have discussions and difficult conversations, but also a real sense of feeling like a belonging to a community of men who have the same purpose and goals, etc. And in this particular one, what you'll see is not only did someone want to get involved in helping the community, but after this point of retirement, which is sometimes really disruptive to a person's life, they said, I wanted to broaden my existing healthy places to hang out, and the men's shed was considered to be that place. Next slide, please. And very quickly, I'll go over some of these things here. Having a good, strong, wide social network, the men's shed is really able to support that, the improvement of the mood. It keeps you busy, it keeps your mind occupied, keeps you moving. And the point on the last one I really valued was this person saying, I feel more relaxed, the stress level's gone way down. And if I think about that video that we were just seeing, the impact of that individual doing better, feeling more relaxed, extends beyond to just them, but to their family and to others as well. Next slide, please. And the final thing that we're doing is actually we're looking at this in a little bit more depth. And so what we've seen is we've looked at what does the national landscape look like? And then we looked at what is the impact on the individual. And now what we're doing is we're looking at what is the community impact of having a men's shed, because it is a really, really valuable asset. In the chat, you've already seen folks have put the numbers in 2,500 to 4,000 volunteer hours, 31,110 hours of service provided in a year. And we wanted to really take that and say, well, what does that look like in terms of community impact? Next slide, please. And so what we're really focusing on these cases is we're looking at 4 areas here. We're saying when there is a men's shed in a community, what is the broader community impact? What is the reduced burden on the health and social care systems? What is the impact on the mental health and emotional well-being, not only of shed members, but also of their spouses, their partners, their family members, and hearing from clinicians and others as part of this case study. And again, going back to where we started, this whole idea of intergenerational connections and reduced ageism as a result of this really structured approach to volunteerism that Men's Sheds provides. Next slide, please. And so some of the next steps that we're hoping to do is continue with our data collection. So we have survey's still open to continue with some of the case studies and really to share the insights and translate this knowledge and give it back to you and put it into your hands so that we can leverage that for more policy support and funding for men's sheds. Next slide, please. Now, I just want to say thank you. And the final thing, because I feel like I have 1 minute, is to show you this. And my screen is blurred, so you can't see this, but this is a hand-carved sign that was gifted to Help Age Canada. And the reason I'm sharing this is, and not to say that older women are loud, but older men are oftentimes not loud. And they quietly do things for people like myself, for Help Age Canada, and for our communities. And one of the real goals that I have as a result of doing this project is to amplify the impact that older men have and all of the quiet things that older men are contributing to our communities. So thank you very much for your support and for being at this presentation today.
Well, thanks very much, Raza. It struck me the emphasis that men want to belong to community. That's so important. And I'm really, and also the thousands of hours that men put into communities is a measurable. And I'm really looking forward to your case studies, the analysis of your case studies about community impact. I know that's coming yet. I did say that we would have time for questions for the whole panel and for Raza, but because we're right out of time, I want to shift the order a bit. I need to do some thank yous and sort of wrap up the formal part before we go to questions. I really want to say thank you to the Secretary of, the Honorable Secretary of State McLean for her supportive message, to keynote speaker Megan Conway in pointing out the value of volunteering, to our panelists, Karen McDonald, Connie Newman, and Sarah Story for sharing your insights, and to Raza for your ongoing research. This is going to be really important in the future. I also want to we're so grateful for the generous funding of funding support from Walton's Trust that helps us promote shedding in the community, promotes the research, and allows the research to go forward. And thanks to the provincial association partners. We couldn't be growing this community without you. And with our collaborators like Help Age Canada, who Raza is with, and Lee Valley, they put out those wonderful videos about us previously this year. And of course, this is about men's sheds. So it's the men who start and build the sheds, starting with Doug and just continuing all down the line to today. I think there was 4 men in Doug's shed at the beginning, and we have 4,000 now. So we're on a roll, and we're just really getting rolling. But guys, your leadership is having an impact far beyond your own shed. And by leading the way, we're all creating opportunities for other men to join us, and that's what shedding is about. So I'm going to get off my my soapbox, and I would like to open it up to the floor and to Barb. I know, Barb and Jill, that there have been some questions and in the chat. So if we and for anybody who wants to contact us, there's our website, www.menshedscanada.org. We're also available on social media, and you can email us anytime. So over to you, Barb, for maybe some of the questions that have come up.
Just one quick question for Raza about your current research report and when that will be ready. I have an idea, but if you can tell us, that would be great.
Yeah, we're hoping to have the quantitative and qualitative reports done for the end of December, and hope the case study stuff is wrapped up for January, and then have all of this all ready and available by the end of January and early February at the latest. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Raza. We've also got a question about whether MSC is lobbying the federal government to get the budget to include funding for MSC, and we are working on that. We did do a pre-budget consultation submission. We'll see where things go, but definitely something that we are working on. And I think that's it for the questions.
I want to say thanks to everyone for hanging in. We're still at 90 guys and gals. So really appreciate you showing up and being a part of this celebration. We're going to do it again next year. We'll make it bigger and better. But really, thanks for being with us, and we hope you've enjoyed. We've enjoyed it as much as we have in presenting it, because this is inspiring. Just that video is inspiring. But all of the feedback and input from all the shedders that are working with communities, I wasn't aware of it until we did this little gathering of people and collecting of information. So thanks, everyone. And well, we'll see you, shedders. We'll see you in a month from now, and we can talk more about this. And anybody else who wants to talk about shedding, feel free to contact us. Thanks again.